What's up, fellas? Welcome to the garage. Well, if you recall, the last time we were playing with the Sierra, we ended up stopping the testing with the new injectors due to some horrible clunking noise from the backside of the car. Remember that this car was involved in a crash of some sorts. The guy actually got carried out with this side and hit the fence or something. I'm not really sure what it was. But if you actually went back and watched the very first videos on the Sierra, here where the extensions were, the plastic here was all crashed, and also this wheel here was bent quite heavily. Actually, I've sent that wheel to a machine shop to have it repaired as we speak. Anyways, what we did at the time was just we swapped out that wheel for another one and also replaced the lower trailing arm, as that one was quite noticeably bent from the impact here. It seemed that all the damage has been taken by the wheel and also, yeah, those extensions. We can also see here where the extensions were mounted. This is also bent inwards, but I actually tried pulling it out already a little bit. But we are really not concerned with these details for now. Well, it seems quite obvious that by replacing the lower trailing arm, we haven't fixed the thing yet. Because, yeah, you heard that clunking noise from the last time. It's not pleasant hearing that at all. So actually I've decided to really start putting the whole rear subframe apart. Actually, I'm also going to remove the shock absorbers and springs and everything, just to really give it a thorough check all over. That will also give me the chance to really go through all the components and see if they are worn out or cracked or bent or anything. So let's go ahead. First thing, remove the wheels and then carry on with the disassembly. Actually, there is a chance that the whole rear subframe is damaged. This subframe is off of a BMW E39 and it is all aluminum. So there is a possibility, you know, that the whole subframe is bent or cracked and we just weren't able to see it from the bottom. But don't worry, I actually got two subframes like this one. Well, actually one is off of a sedan model and one is off of a touring model. So we'll be actually able to compare the two. You know, I know there are some differences, but who knows, maybe they are totally compatible in terms of, you know, the swing arms and all the little levers. We'll figure that out as we go. But yeah, now let's go ahead and start disassembling this thing. First, let's get the wheels off. Alright, so the wheels are off. So now, the way I see it, the easiest course of action here will be I will just remove these brake calipers in order not to have to break brake lines here, you know. So I spare myself tedious job of bleeding the brakes. So I'll just put these calipers off and just hang them on there somewhere on the both sides, obviously. Then I will, of course, remove this prop shaft, or at least separate it here from the differential. Then I will actually go ahead and unbolt all the bolts that are holding the whole subframe on. Then I will just lower the whole car, unbolt them completely, and then unbolt the shock absorbers, you know, from the top. Here, regarding the fuel pump and everything, I think we should be fine. The subframe will go past all this here. And that's about it. Once we have it on the ground, we'll be able to really thoroughly check everything and also disassemble everything easier and so on. So let's do just that. Okay, where we left off. Right, we were removing this subframe of the car. So as you see here, I've removed the brake calipers and have them safely hanging on both sides, of course. I have removed the prop shaft and just hang it here as well. So now I think we're just about ready to get those 4 bolts loosened here. Then we'll actually go ahead and lower the car down, get these bolts out all the way, and then in the end also remove these shock absorbers. I think we'll remove the bolts from the upper side inside the car to see what's happening here. Who knows, maybe only the bolts got loose. Alright, those bolts weren't loose at all. Safety first. Okay, so now we'll just put these two bolts out and the subframe should just fall off. So now we should be able to just lift the car up while the subframe just stays down, and we'll just pull it out and see how it looks like. I think only these shock absorbers are tight here, but I just lift it up a little more, and I think our cross member here will let go of the Sierra, no problem. Alright guys, back here on the Sierra problem. Let me show you what I found so far that was kind of weird about this subframe we got here. So first thing that was kind of concerning, I'm not really sure what to make of it yet. Those bolts here, or more even those washers. On the BMWs, here comes a special washer that follows this shape here. So it kind of protrudes inside here. There is kind of a step here. So it really holds on to this bushing. Here, that's not the case, as you can see. Here are just a couple of ordinary washers and this flat aluminum piece. And kind of the same it's in the front, you know, for the front supports. So if we take a closer look, this comes obviously fitted like so, and even though here is mounted on a chassis, here we got these round pieces on all the four supports. This is somewhat same as on the BMW, so that's perfectly fine. But let's say this holds on to the treads on the car, let's say 20 millimeters. This could potentially still rock left and right, as much as this bolt is bending left and right. I don't know if it's really tightened up. Here this surface obviously holds on to the car, so it shouldn't really move, but it would surely be better if on the bottom end would also follow this shape. Also, I think the original bolts are a bit bigger. I think these are 12 millimeter, and I think original ones are a bit thicker. But okay, that's that. Next thing that got me kind of suspicious that the whole subframe is moving left and right is these marks here. Look at this. These are quite deep, like scratches, or not really scratches, like someone would be banging on here. And the same on the other side. You see, these are quite deep. And also we got kind of a rubbing mark here. And here is also kind of bent inside. And also the one I noticed is here. This one isn't as deep, but still, it is damaged in a sense. So if we go ahead and take a closer look here on the chassis, we will actually find all the matching wear marks on here also. And the main two ones, of course, are this and this one. And these are quite sharp edges. So as I see it, here lies our evidence of the subframe moving left and right. You know, this should be quite stiff. Although we have these rubber silent blocks here, these don't move that much. And you know, the clunking noise was visible not only at high loads, but while normal driving already. And also those are in quite good shape, all of them. So I think we got a problem regarding mounting these inner parts onto the chassis. So moving on with the marks here, we also got this piece here damaged a bit, and also I found, yeah, this nut here. These are fuel lines, and yeah, this one was rubbing also. Of course, we got some zip ties here. They're not even clipped. What does that tell you? I have to fix this. This one, I guess, was just tapping onto the subframe, and yeah, here we have some mark. But I will be, you know, fixing this a little better. You can see here we got a bunch of zip ties. I really don't like this. Nothing wrong with zip ties, but yeah, this most certainly could be improved. While I'm at it, I will also brush this surface rust off and just give this part a nice little coat of paint as well. But first I really want to locate the source of the clunking noise. Alright, so here's the plan. First I'm going to grind off these sharp edges here, just a little, and cut off all the parts that are intersecting our subframe there. So I'm just gonna cut this off and just grind a little bit off here and here. Another thing I've noticed is here, as you can see, this is wet. This is actually water, dirty water. Pretty sure that in here we got water. I'm sure it is leaking from somewhere up, and this being a blind hole, almost closed shut, the water is actually accumulating inside here. So I will go ahead and drill this one through to release the water out. We'll see about these washers here. I may just turn some new ones on a lathe, but we'll see about that. Alright, so right here you can see my nice lovely collection of BMW E39 subframes. You can see this one is a bit different. In fact, every one of them is a bit different on its own. This one is actually off of a touring car, that means, you know, estate, BMW E39 estate. And we can see that these hubs here are quite different. These aren't compatible at all with our setup we got there. Also, this lower wishbone is different shape. As you can see, this one to that one, you know, this is like an H shape. And this one is kind of a fancy H. You know, it's more like curved, you know. So anyways, I think these are the same on both versions. And I think also the brake calipers and discs and everything, it's also all the same. So that's good news regarding, you know, spare parts for the Sierra. I will have some spare discs and pads and everything. But to get to the point here, remember I told you that these silent blocks were in good shape. They barely move. However, here we got a school example of a badly used silent block. This one is very chewed up due to some corrosion, I guess. And also, you know, here, check out this one. This one is just falling apart, look. See? This is the inner piece of this. The rubber isn't holding onto this at all. So those are shot and those are totally different shape. So we are not interested in those. One of the few good things of, you know, worn out silent blocks is, in our case, we can really test the fitment directly onto our chassis here. So this actually goes like this, and you can see if this isn't bolted all the way and tightened, this will get some slack, and when the subframe gets loaded in one or other way, these will move like this. And actually this sounds familiar, so I think we're onto something here. Let's examine this thing further. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually bolt on this one onto here. I didn't drill the hole yet to let that water out, but we will try to bolt this onto here with the bolt that was inside here. So we'll be really able to check if the bolt really holds this one all the way up. That's the one. You can see it's wet and a bit more rusty than all the other ones. Makes sense, you know. The water tends to fasten rust, of course. So. Okay, looking good so far. Let's really tighten that up. Well, this really has zero slack. If this were bolted like this isn't going anywhere. This is all fine, you know. That means that the dimensions of these protrusions here is just fine, so that's not our problem at all. Let's investigate further now. Alright fellas, great news. I think I found the issue. Okay, let's take a closer look at this silent block here. As I was telling you before, but yeah, you can really see it. Here you can see this rubber protrudes much out. There is, I don't know, about 10 millimeters at least here between this rubber edge and this edge of this inner part here. We want to clamp onto the chassis, right? On the upper side, this inner part is protruding out. We got no problems there with the surfaces matching. But here from the underneath, with this setup, if we put this like so, we are actually pushing, I hope you can see this, we are actually pushing the outer rubber on and not the inner part here. So I think what really was happening is that even though the bolts were tightened up, they were still just tightening the rubber together, you know? And the rubber, as you all know, is very elastic. And I think this couldn't really tightly clamp everything onto the chassis. Actually, the whole point of the rubber is to take the vibrations, while the main points, in our case, this inner parts here, should be tightly fixed onto the chassis. So just as I've declared in the beginning, this is much different from the original setup. So I think what we have to do here is whether just add more washers, so this will really clamp this, you know, before this aluminum part grabs onto the rubber, or just put some thicker washer or a spacer of some kind here. And then I think we will have solved this problem. Okay, so I've decided to actually, for now, just use this existing pieces with an additional washer here. And yes, this washer makes all the difference. Here, as you can see now, this assembly here actually lands first on the inner part before this rubber part here. So I think this will work perfectly as it is. And later, if we actually get these proper washers here or proper parts to suit these silent blocks, we'll be actually able to easily replace them on the car. So yeah, that's it. We're gonna put this together just like so. The same for these front mounts, and I think this will do the trick. Now I'm gonna go ahead and grind off these sharp edges in any case, and also all these parts that were interfering with our subframe here, and then give all of this a nice coat of paint. I might actually bash inside these parts that I think were touching the springs a little, but not that much, and then just clean this all off and paint it while we're here. See that? Told ya. Now I am going to drill this hole also on the other side. I'm sure this won't affect structural rigidity or anything, but it will make for good use of extracting the water from inside the car. You can look at it as a weight reduction, but as I see it, this is more of a rust prevention in the long run.